Welcome back to my secret diary podcast. I think I've kind of decided on a name, and I think the name that I'm going with is Confessions of a Disaster Doll or Confessions of a Divination Doll. So we're kind of in between the both. I might just use either or, and I might switch it back and forth until I decide which one I like. Also, y'all see Mama got bangs? Yes, Mama got bangs. Y'all like it? I love it. I feel like I'm giving very much let's fix this. I don't really care, to be honest. I feel like I'm giving like grungy French girl. And I feel like I'm also like a little bit inspo from the Marias. Who I'm talking about, Miss Maria herself. I feel like I am channeling my inner Maria right now. And I'm giving. Wait, I wish you guys could see my feet right now, but I'm like kicking them up in the air. But I'm also like not wearing pants. I'm just wearing boxers. So I don't want to flash you guys. But anyways, today's, I was going to say podcast, but I don't want to call it that. I'm not trying to call it that, even though this is kind of what it is. But today's episode is about two things. First, I went to a ritual. I kind of want to make this like a little bit of a shadow work episode. I kind of did want to make this entire like journaling experience, virtual journaling experience, about kind of like me doing some shadow work and self-reflecting about things that have happened in the past and things that are happening right now and things that continue to happen or things that I want to happen in the future. And I feel like I'm kind of called to do like, make this a little bit of like, just sharing my life in aspects that I wouldn't share regularly. And so I kind of want to do it like this. And I wanted to make it, like I was saying on the last episode, very raw and very honest. So today's topics are, first, I want to start about the ritual that I went to. That was fab. That was so fab. I thought, girl, when they were talking ritual, I had never done, oops, sorry, I hit the microphone. I had never done any sort of practice in groups of people. I've always done it by myself. I've never done it with other people. So when I saw that this was happening, I was like, oh, you know what? I feel like this would be fun because I had never done, group practice, like any ritual of any sort, any spells or anything like that in person with other people. It's just always been by myself. So I'm like, ugh. Why not give it a chance? And it was for Beltane. If you know what Beltane is. It's a holiday that a lot of pagans practice and stuff like that. And I was like, this is like literally perfect. Like this is meant to happen. So I was extremely nervous going because I had never done anything and I didn't know what I was walking myself into. I thought, girl, this was gonna be some like woo woo shit, like woo 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 woo, like like we're gonna be chanting and running around the fire and screaming and like crazy shit. No, bitch. It was not like that. Why did I think that? And that's kind of like probably my preconceived notion as to what a ritual is. And there is probably rituals out there that are probably like that are a lot more like, witchy, woo woo, jump around the fire, let's chant and shit. And I do want to go to one of those one day. Don't get me wrong. I do. And I feel like that would be a lot of fun. And I feel like that'd be so fab. Like, even I would love to do one like that myself. That would be so fab. But no, honey. I get there, and it's this nice-ass mansion. Okay? First of all, mansion. This a lady, she owns this estate that, it's a mansion, and it's here in Chicago. And, she, like, rents it out. I guess, essentially. She owns it and she rents it out for events and all this stuff. Weddings, offices, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like multi-purpose, should I say. And I was like, okay, I got there. It was gorgeous. I was like, oh my God, this shit is nice. I was like, am I even supposed to be here right now? Like, I don't feel like, but I looked hot as fuck. Like, oh my God, this piece of hair is bothering me so bad. I looked so fucking sexy. I was like, I am feeling my hottest self right now. And I'm about to go into this ritual. I feel good. I'm ready to like do all this woo-woo shit with everybody, and I'm about to go fucking crazy. I get there, there's like a cute little bar, there's like maybe like 10 people there, and it was so chill. Like, there was nothing happening, so I got my little drink at a bar. They only had one drink, and they had wine too, but I didn't want to get wine at that moment. I kind of wanted this piece of fucking hair. I wanted to get like a drink, so all they had was gin, like this lemonade lavender, and me, I hate lavender. Who puts lavender in drinks, honey? Keep that shit for our detergent. Keep that shit for our candles. Keep that shit for, smells. I don't want lavender in my fucking drink. Nothing. No lavender coffee, no nothing. I was like, fuck. I want a drink. I was like, fuck it. I'll buy the fucking drink. It wasn't that expensive. It was fairly small, but it was okay. I got it. That shit was strong. I can tell you that. That shit was strong. And I don't really drink gin either. So, like, I was kind of out of my comfort zone. I was like, if this is disgusting, this will be the only drink I have tonight. I could deal. Let's fucking woo-woo, bitches. And, it was fucking fire. Anyways, a couple more people came in. It ended up being like 20-something people. I kept to myself before it kind of started. And then before it started, I was starting to talk to a couple people because I was kind of by myself. And like I felt like kind of everybody was already talking to other people. And I was so scared and I was nervous. And, and it was all kinds of people, all kinds of ages. I'm telling everybody, there was a couple with a baby, there was a mother and daughter, there was older people, people my age, mid-aged people. So it was like a good mix of people. And then it started. And it was essentially this wonderful lady, very, very wise. She started by explaining who she was. She went around the circle doing like a sound cleanse, should I say. And then she spoke a little bit more. She called upon the elements. That was beautiful, whatever. Then we did a little sort of like, I guess, ritual kind of situation where we all went up onto this branch and we tied this colorful ribbon onto the branch. And as we tied it on, said something we wanted to bring to our community. And, you kept it to yourself and you just tied the ribbon. And then after that, there was like this cute little, I think it was like a money tree. And we like watered the tree. Everybody got a chance to water the tree. You just dip your hand into the bucket of water and you like water the tree. It was really cute. Then after that, she continued and, continued talking. And then she was explaining kind of like what was going to happen next. And so they had this fire going outside of the event space, and it was like not a big fire. It was like a little campfire. It was really cute. And so they told us at the beginning of the event to write down on a piece of paper stuff that we wanted to release. And, I had written down stuff that I had wanted to release, and I wrote down I had wanted to release all the doubts I have about my transition, and I wanted to release any negative thoughts I had about myself. And because I feel like that's stuff that I've been struggling with and with myself, and I don't really speak a lot about it because it's hard to kind of admit it. And I guess this is kind of the point of this podcast. Doing that ritual and writing that on a piece of paper and like actually me writing it and seeing it and saying it was just that in alone in itself was so helpful. And then on top of that, right after, we all stood in a circle around the fire, and then we threw the pieces of paper into the fire, and they said, if you want to say it out loud, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. And I was like, I'm not going to say mine out loud. But then when it was my turn to walk up to the fire and release what I had written down, I said it out loud, and I was like, you know what? Like, these people don't know me. I just met these people. Everybody here is being raw and open and cultivating a very safe and beautiful environment. And I was like, I feel like it's okay to share this, even though I know it might not seem like it's a big fucking deal. But y'all, when you don't want to say something, you don't want to fucking say something, okay? Thank you. So I said it, and it was so pretty watching it burn. I was like, it felt very releasing. Like, that's literally the purpose of the ritual, to release. And it felt so fucking good. Like, honey, let that shit go. Anyways, after that, we all went back inside. And, I thought maybe there's going to be more woo woo to it. There was going to be like more like, you know. No, girl. They were like, go get more drinks. And I was like, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to get another drink. I think I got like 2 more drinks or 1 more drink. And I was not sloshed, but I would say like I wouldn't say I was sloshed at the ritual because that's kind of fucked up to say because I wasn't. But I felt a little bit brave. I felt like, I'm like, okay, like I'm in my element. Like these people don't know me, but like I'm not like scared no more. And I felt good, and I was like, I have this piece of hair in my mouth, so if you see me scratching my face, it's because I have a piece of hair in my fucking mouth. Yeah, I was like, I'm in my element. I was like, fuck yeah. I'm drinking. I'm with all these other little witchy girls and boys and bays and dumbs, and we're just here vibing. Like, fuck yeah. And then after that, it was time, like, we got a little story circle, and, she was like, okay, everybody, share a story, and she started off herself, the lady that was leading the ritual, she shared a story, and she's like, share a story, a poem, a song, do whatever your heart desires. And I was like, okay, so people started to go, and I was like, I was debating if I was going to share something or not, because it wasn't mandatory, but people started sharing stuff, and people were sharing like, funny stories. Some were sharing beautiful stories with some like beautiful meanings. Somebody shared like a really beautiful poem, and like it just felt so healing in a way. Like just listening, it felt like such great community. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh my god, like everybody's here is really just here to support each other and like uplift each other, and it was so beautiful. And so I kind of got the courage. And I got up, I took the little speaking stick, because there was like a speaking stick, it was so cute. I felt like this was like a group therapy session. And I went up and I shared a story about my transition. And I shared a story about how change can be so scary. And I think I talked about this in my last episode, how change can be something so scary. But at the end of the day, no matter where we go, change is beautiful, and where you end up, it's a journey. It's a journey 1000%. But that journey through change is something you can never forget or you can never lose, because it is something that is so sacred and so wonderful and so unique to you, and it makes you who you are. And I spoke and I shared my story with a bunch of people, and there was people who were crying, and nobody was crying yet that night. And I was like, oh my god, like, was my story like sad? Like, I was like, fuck, did I ruin the vibes? And I got this tremendous applause, and it was kind of like crazy, like that sharing my story could touch so many people and make people feel good. So that was a true and honest, like, beautiful moment, like one of the most beautiful moments of my life that I will never forget. Even though it was something so small and so intimate and not anything big or major, it was just such a small thing. And it really was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. That I was like, I feel like I was able to share my story with people, and people were really there, and some people understood me. Even though they weren't trans, they understood what I was saying. They understood the message I was trying to convey. And this lady at the end of my speech, and I was going to get some water because I was parched. I had been drinking, and I just shared a whole entire story, and I was like, actually, that's how I feel right now. Let me drink some water. Wait, ASMR. She came up to me, and she had said that was one of the most beautiful stories she has ever heard in her life, and she has been doing public speaking for a majority of her career. And she said that I had this gift, and that she had felt so touched, and she wanted me to see me do more with what I have. And I feel like part of the reason why I kind of started this podcast, besides, all my witchy reasons and, wanting to do my shadow work journal and kind of finding a way because I'm not really a writer and stuff like that. Part of the reason why was she motivated me. And I was like, you know what? What is a way I can empower people or kind of find a way to share stuff with people? I said, fuck it, the internet. Like, hello? I might upload these videos and maybe nobody might see them. Maybe one person might see them. 10, or like I said the other episode, it doesn't matter how many people see that, but there might be just at least one person who might actually sit through these videos and be like, oh, she's spilling tea. Like, she's got something. And like I said, I'm not the best at giving advice, but there's something there, mamas. There's something there. And so, I kind of still want to find a way to do more public speaking in a way and maybe go to some more events or maybe some other type of rituals. I feel like that'd be such a fun thing, like me going on a side quest, going to somewhere and like speaking at like an event or something like that. And like, I don't know. I don't want to say motivational speaker because, honey, I barely motivate myself. I barely motivate myself, but I just want to be real. I just want to be, because I feel like there's so much of that missing. I want to be honest. And I feel like people just need to hear that. People need to hear the honesty and the rawness of a person. People don't need to be hearing all that motivational shit sometimes. Even though that is part of the story, there is so much motivational shit. But people just want to hear the truth. The nasty, the ugly, but then also the fucking pretty. People want to hear it all. And I want to be able to... Oh, hold on, I'm serving. I want to be able to do that. Somehow. Figure out a way. And maybe hopefully through this I can. But anyways, that ritual was so beautiful. It felt very healing. I would totally go back to that event space and the people who throw that event. What wonderful and kind people. And, I would love to, maybe in the future get more involved and stuff like that. I don't know how, but I'll find a way. It was really cool. And I don't regret going. I was really scared to go. And, it's so crazy. Like, I was nervous, and I was so nervous to the point where I was going to be like, I'm not going to go. Like, I don't need to go. I could just continue practicing on my own here. Like, there's not really much I can do, like, or I might be able to add, or I don't know. I was like, I'll just stick to myself and go in my room in my little altar space and figure it out. Have my tarot cards and just read my own tarot and, talk with Hecate, and figure it out and shit like that, and I'll be fine. But I'm so glad I got out of my fucking comfort zone to do that. And I guess part of the shadow work I kind of want to do is, why do I feel like I'm afraid of new experiences? Or like, why am I scared to put myself out there and just do things? Like, why am I scared? Like, where does this anxiety come from, in a sense? And I think part of it has to do with my lack of motivation to, first of all, even get up, go out, get ready, and do that shit. I think part of the reason is that I need to kind of think. Why? I think it's kind of the fear of failure and rejection. And I wish I could say where that comes from. And I think a lot of it comes from, you know what? I feel like I kind of do know. I feel like in my childhood, I was not the best student in school. You know what I mean? I feel like I was always struggling in school academically. And I wasn't passing a lot of tests. And I was constantly failing and constantly being reminded of that failure when you'd get your exam scored. And then it's like when I was failing a test, then I was coming home and, my parents would get on my ass for not being a good student. Also, if you guys hear the sounds outside, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do anything about it. It's just raw city noises. It it starts from a young age, that fear of failing or the fear of trying things new, and that anxiety of like, am I going to mess this up again? Am I going to continue to fail? Am I going to do something I'm going to regret? Am I going to let people down? And that's the main thing. That's a big thing for me, was letting people down. And going somewhere or doing something, meeting people, or just doing something, period. Let's just say that. I know I'm kind of going in circles, but... And letting either myself down and other people. And I've worked so hard to get past that. And I feel like even though, yes, I did, I feel like there was a year ago, 2 years ago in my life that I hit rock bottom really hard. I got medicated and stuff like that. And I feel like on that medication, it helped me face a lot of my anxieties and a lot of my issues when it comes to stuff like that. But it still always lingers. Like, anxiety and depression will always linger with you. And the fear of failing will always linger with you. The fear of doing things will always linger with you. You just have to become okay with having that feeling and still doing things with that feeling. Because you can still accomplish so much with that feeling and nothing will go wrong. And then it just shows that that feeling was wrong. And that intuition, or kind of like that mindset, is not the right mindset to put yourself in. And so it kind of helps you build a better mindset for when you come back to do it again. And you're like, I can do this now. Like, I know I can do this. I know I can accomplish this. I know I'm not letting myself down, or I'm not letting the people around me down. And it helps. It helps a lot. And I feel like a lot of my anxiety of trying to do things just comes from fears of either letting myself down or letting other people down. And it's an interesting dynamic, 1000%. And it takes a long time to reprogram your brain to do that. To not think like that. But sometimes it's like you have to live with that. You have to live and continue and just work through it and kind of like be like, I could still do this right now. Like, there's nothing physically stopping myself from doing this or accomplishing this. And if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, and that's okay. We have to be okay with failing. And I think that's another thing right there, booyah, that I had to learn to be okay with. I'm not perfect. And as a kid, I feel like there was a lot of pressure on me to be perfect. And growing up, I feel like there was a lot of pressure to be perfect in school, have perfect behavior, be the perfect kid, and, at the time, be the perfect son. And that's just not who I am. I'm not perfect. Girl, I'm far from fucking perfect. Girl, I get a little crazy and I'm bleaching my brows, or I'm cutting my hair clearly like this, or I'm doing something drastic, doing something crazy. I'm fucking a man that I'm not supposed to be fucking, but you know what? Who cares? Because I'm not I'm not perfect. And I will never say I'm perfect. Because, bitch, I'm not that type of person. And there's people out there who believe they're perfect. And they got it all and they do that shit. And you know what? Kudos to you, mama. Kudos to you. But I could have all the money in the world. I could be the happiest bitch alive. I could marry the man of my life, have the kids and the family that I've always wanted to have, accomplish everything I've wanted to accomplish, and do everything I've wanted to fucking do, but I still will never be a perfect person. Because in my eyes, to me, that doesn't exist. Like, our human nature, it just doesn't work like that, in my opinion. It's my opinion. And I personally don't believe even, I think this is a huge difference between, Christian and Catholicism to, paganism and Hellenism and, the Greek pantheon and all these other gods, is that the gods that I, read about and I study about, especially the Greek gods and stuff like that, they're not perfect either. They are like a giant personification of a human. And they exaggerate all these different characteristics that humans have, and they embody these characteristics. And these characteristics are good and bad. And I don't see my god or goddesses as perfect beings. I don't see them as perfect beings. So why should I see myself as a perfect being? Because I'm not, and that's okay. That is fucking okay, because they were never perfect, honey. And I will never be perfect either. And baddies don't need to be perfect. Like, look at me. Ignore this fat pimple right here. But look at me. You think Mother Hecate would have decided to work with me if I was fucking perfect? No. Girl, no. Like, we all make fucking mistakes. We all say stupid shit. We all do stupid shit. I do shit. Well, I don't regret things. I learn from them. I mean, I have slight regrets. But I don't really full on regret things. And I don't really, like, dwell on that shit. But there's things I shouldn't have done. Many things, actually, I shouldn't have done. And I could go on about those things. Many things. But what the fuck am I going to do if I sit here and I dwell on it? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't make the right choice. Or I didn't make the perfect choice. Because I feel like there's no such thing as a perfect choice. Or is that? Our minds and our bodies are so complex that it's so hard to achieve that near perfectness. And like I said, the goddesses and the gods, which I don't really, I'm more about, the divine feminine, so mainly more about the goddesses. But they weren't perfect either, honey. Aphrodite wasn't perfect. Hecate wasn't perfect. Lilith wasn't perfect. Arden, what the fuck do you think you are? You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I don't mean that in a, bitch, I just mean that in, an honest way. Like, it's okay to fuck up. Let's stop being afraid to fuck up. Let's continue learning. Let's continue growing. Let's achieve things we haven't achieved before. I feel like this has been such a extensive and long episode, and I feel like I've ran my mouth so long, and I kind of guess it just goes to show how my mind works and how sometimes I could be a little bit fucking crazy. My nipple, y'all, okay, let's add another topic. Girl, my tits been growing. I can tell you that, motherfucker. Ever since I started HRT and estrogen, girl, these titties been growing. And, you can't really see them here, but, girl. And they itch. But I think that's because in Chicago here, the air is very dry. And I have really dry skin. And girl, no matter how many times I moisturize them motherfucking nipples, one of them is gonna be fucking itchy. And I hate that shit. In fact, I'm just gonna cup it so I don't have to scratch it. I've like learned that if I cup it, it helps with not scratching my nipple. But okay, I need to stop. Okay, this is fucking weird. Y'all are just seeing me fucking cut my tit. But anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I know I did. I feel like it feels so good to just like ramble on and let all this shit free and just talk for forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But yeah. Thank you for listening. And if there's somebody out there that resonates with the shit that I be saying and the shit that I be talking, I hope you hear this. This is for you mamas or papas or them-thems. So, peace, love, and happiness. I hope all you bitches have a good day. If you're a hater, I hope you have the worst fucking day. Until next time.